we all know how I feel about doing drugs. Save them till you're older.
Yes, that's our official stance on the WOF.
Yeah, save them till you're older when you really need them.
Yep.
Because life comes at you hard. You're going to want those drugs for later, you know?
You want them to, like, be good when you're later.
Yeah.
Later, you know?
You don't want to feel
Also,
guilty about it. You want them just
economical because, you know, if you start them young, you're going to need more when you're older.
True.
Think about your finances when you're doing drugs.
Yeah. Think about the finances. You'll need less of them to get high, you know?
Exactly.
They said that we'd grow out of it. Well, the joke's on them, that's just our brains. We're eccentric, loud, and stubborn. And most of our clothing is covered in stains. It's not a deficit of attention. There's just too much to think about. So if executive dysfunction becomes a little too much, if you forgot why you came in this room, or you're hypersensitive to touch, then put on your seamless socks and come join our little flock. Bitches stimming together, we're weirds of a feather. Weirds of a feather.
Okay, we are recording.
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Ready to record.
Let's do Whippits.
Let's do Whippits,
Yeah, we're doing Whippits.
Welcome to Weirds of a Feather.
Yeah.
An ADHD
/ AuDHD
/ Whippit-Adjacent podcast.
Yeah.
Where we do Whippits.
And you should too.
And
No.
Whippits.
Don't.
Whippits for everyone.
Yeah, Whippits all around is what I
Whippits
say.
for any age.
Yeah. Babies, olds, do them whenever. Do them at a party.
Do them at a party.
Do them at a funeral.
Spice it up a little bit. Everybody's crying. Do a little Whippit.
Yeah, it'll take the tears away.
Graduation.
Yeah.
Whippits.
Yep. Do them on the beach.
Beach Whippits.
Beach Whippits.
Best kind of Whippits. Beach
Yep.
Whippits.
Yeah, I so agree. I'm your host, Grace Beret.
And I'm your host, Kristen Stanhope.
Yeah. And we're just joking. Please don't do Whippits,
Actually, I've never done a Whippit.
I haven't either. It's a very serious problem, and you should never do them.
I didn't know it was. I guess I didn't know. I only know about Whippits through like a joking manner.
Yeah,
of, like the only time I've said Whippits is when I'm joking about Whippits because I've never seriously done Whippits done Whippits at all.
And I feel like they have kind of been a jokey thing that people are like, haha, Whippits. That's a silly like middle school thing to do. But in the last few years, they've become a legit problem where it's like not just people sucking on whipped cream canisters. They like sell them at drugstores.
Crazy.
And it's become a problem. But before we get into that, well, I guess going along those same lines, my warm-up question was going to be, have you ever huffed anything?
On purpose?
Yeah.
Not on purpose.
No? Have you huffed anything accidentally and you liked it a little bit?
No.
No, me neither.
One time in organic chemistry lab, I huffed in a chemical and then I had to go sit outside because it was like sulfuric acid, basically.
Oh, God. And you didn't enjoy that?
No. And the TA made fun of me for a while.
Cool.
He was a dick. And then later asked me for nudes.
Ew.
Yeah,
the fuck?
Gross.
The closest I think I've ever gotten to huffing anything, and this sounds so stupid, but when I take my once a day stimulant asthma inhaler, because you're supposed to like let all your breath out and then you want to take like a really deep breath in. Sometimes like I have to sit down when I do it, but sometimes I don't know if it's just the act of me like inhaling while like sucking through this thing, or if it's like the actual asthma steroids that are doing it. But sometimes I get like such a head rush and I feel so out of it for like a couple minutes.
Really?
Yeah, where I'm like, whoa, this feels.
Can I ask you a personal
like
question?
Drugs. Sure.
What are you taking?
I'm on Asmonex. I've been taking
what
it
is
for
that,
like 10 years.
budesonide?
You're asking the wrong guy.
I think it is.
I don't know, but I love it. It manages my asthma really well. I always forget how well it works, and then when I run out of it, sometimes I'm like, I can go a few days without it. No, I can't.
There's nothing like from one asthmatic to another. There's nothing better than when you're like super wheezy and taking that first hit off an albuterol and you feel that like rush of oxygen to your lungs and you're not wheezy anymore.
Yeah.
This is why. Is this what doing drugs feels like?
I think so.
That's how I equivalent. Like you're wheezy, you feel terrible, you're coughing, you have that. I always get like panicked, kind of, because I hate.
It feels like you're suffocating.
Yeah, I hate that. And even now, what I've found that I'm doing now, when I get really anxious, I feel like I need to take my inhaler because I feel like I'm suffocating. It's not. It's anxiety.
Yep. I used to give myself asthma attacks during soccer games because I just get so anxious. Like I'd start to feel my lungs like closing up, and then I'd be panicked that I wouldn't be able to go out of the game right away because you have to wait till the ball goes out of bounds. And then I would like straight up like kind of exacerbate my asthma attack because I was just like so panicked.
There's nothing like taking albuterol when you're super wheezy and you really need it.
Yeah, it feels so good. It feels like breathing on, well, I was going to say the top of a mountain, but that probably feels bad. But like, I don't know, like a nice, cool breath when you've been breathing in hot, stale air. Like it just feels like going outside and like taking this big,
almost feel
fresh
like
breath.
It's like, you know, someone has like a vice on your chest and they finally release it. And you can just go, and like take that big, deep breath in. Yeah. That is what kind of drugs I do. Yeah. The medical ones.
Yeah. Albuterol.
Albuterol for my asthma.
Yes. Yeah. It does feel good. Well, I was going to ask my other part of that warm-up question because I figure you'd never huffed anything.
No.
You've obviously never done whippets. But do you remember anyone doing like non-drug drugs when we were in middle school specifically?
No. I remember in college, I watched our friend open a Zyn packet and then snort a line of it and immediately start screaming because it hurt. I was like, that's a bad idea.
Why would you do that?
I go, that's a bad idea. He goes, no, it's good. And just, and then he's just like, whoa. I was like, yeah, it's like snorting salt.
Yeah.
Probably hurts, right? And he's like, that was a bad idea. I think he got a nosebleed later.
Oh, that sounds about right. I didn't remember anyone personally doing this, but I've heard word of people in our middle school snorting Smarties, the candy. They would crush up Smarties and snort them. There's no high to it. You don't get anything out of it.
You just get a nosebleed.
Yeah, I think you're just like imitating doing drugs, and I think that's the big thing in middle school. At least back then. I'm sure now kids are doing real drugs. And some kids were doing real drugs. We were just sheltered. But like, I think some kids who were on the in-between were like, doing drugs is cool, but we don't actually have access to drugs.
Right.
Let's snort these Smarties. And then when
I did not know that was happening.
Yeah, apparently it was.
Where were we?
We were just eating the Smarties like
we were
fools.
just taking our albuterol in the bathroom.
Yeah, just eating candy like losers. Yeah. And then when I nannied for that really wealthy family in Boston, the 13-year-old that I nannied for, he would tell me about how kids at his school would smoke herbal tea. Which is so lame.
You gotta try out this chamomile, man.
You gotta hit it, man. Straight to the dome. Yeah, they would like take apart tea bags and like smoke them. Like once again, you're just like imitating doing drugs without actually doing anything.
That's really funny.
Right?
Could you imagine being a teacher and walking in on that?
Yeah, and catching them
like,
and
there's my tea.
Yeah, lavender. This is gonna put you to sleep.
Sleepy time tea.
Yeah. Like I love the idea of middle schoolers doing that. It's so funny.
There's my raspberry zinger.
Yeah. I can't focus without my raspberry zinger.
Oh my God.
Before social studies.
Really funny.
Right?
So
I'm going to do a call out because I'm sure there are other ridiculous ones. If you know of any non-drug drugs that people were doing in like middle or high school, please let me know at weirdsofeather@gmail.com because I think that they're just hilarious and like so childlike.
It's really funny.
Right?
Non-drug drugs.
Yeah. Snorting Smarties, getting high off candy. All right. Should we get into this meaty episode?
Yeah. We got another meat for you.
Oh, yeah. We're talking whippets.
Meat heavy whippets.
Yep. Meat and whippets. But first, let's do some little accomplishments.
Okay.
Little accomplishments, but big in our hearts.
Yeah.
Kristen,
here.
What did you accomplish?
I had a mental health craft weekend.
Ooh.
Yeah. I was really excited. I had I did some plant care. I was just, you know, I'm stressed. I started a new job. It's stressful.
Yeah, I bet.
Because it's new.
New things are scary.
Yeah, I hate it.
I hate new things.
I don't hate my job. I just hate that it's new.
Yeah.
I want it to be old.
It will be old eventually.
I just have to give it time.
Yeah. The only thing that cures that is time, unfortunately.
So, but yeah, it's been kind of stressful. So I had a little mental health weekend. I took care of some plants. I made another granny square. I have a plan for that granny square, but I'm not going to talk about it until I finish it.
All right.
So I actually made 2, and then I realized I made one very, very wrong. So bummer.
Hate that.
I was like, why is it lopsided? And then I was like, realized I missed an entire round.
Oh.
And that is why that was so difficult. Much less difficult when you do it correctly.
Yeah, that checked out. Yeah.
But what I've noticed from the granny squares, so there's 2 different types of patterns for granny squares. You can have the words, but then you also have the picture with like just symbols. And that's way easier to read for me as a dyslexic. And that's what I'm going to stick with.
All right. I think
I have
that's
a whole book
idea.
on granny squares, and I'm just going balls deep into it.
Great. I might need to borrow that from you someday.
Yeah,
you're really crushing those granny squares.
Well, kind of. We'll see.
I mean, you're making slow and steady progress.
Yeah. I still have to finish Christopher's vest. I kind of feel guilty about not having that finished and starting new projects, but I just needed it.
You got to follow that dopamine, you know?
Yep.
There's nothing you can do.
Grace.
Yes.
What did you accomplish?
I, like always, because I'm a known chronic furniture rearranger.
Yeah.
I rearranged my office.
Nice.
And I created a little nook for myself.
I love a good nook.
I love a good nook.
Love a good nook.
Yeah, I got one.
I know, I've seen it. It looks very nice.
Right? Isn't it cozy over there?
It's super cozy. And this is the best arrangement yet, I think.
I agree. It's not so much that I always have to move stuff around forever indefinitely. It's that I move it around until it feels right.
I hate how you and Christopher are the same person. Because he just rearranged our bedroom, and
you gotta.
And it's not like my ideal, but it's his ideal, and then actually I think it works better for us. Like I don't think it's feng shui appropriate, or
you shouldn't have your bed facing your door. You shouldn't have your feet facing the door. Is that what you did?
No.
Okay.
I don't know what we're facing, but I think it works. It works for him, and it also works for me. So I'm okay with it. Yeah.
See, it's nice sometimes to have change.
Yeah.
What was that thing you sent me? It said that like Capricorns are like the night version of Leos or something.
Apparently,
like like icy or what was
I was on like Capricorn Leo TikTok for a very long time. Because I am an earth sign, Capricorn, and you and Christopher are both fire signs, and apparently we're not supposed to get along at all.
Well, I think it was what you sent me it said that like Sagittarius is like the night version of Leo, right?
No, it was Capricorn's the night version of Leo.
So that's me and you.
Yeah.
So you want to know the way I always remember what your sign is? Because I always, if there's 2 things that are both long names, I'll just kind of get them mixed around. I always remember because I was going to make you a sign that said, I'm really horny for Capricornies. And that's every time I go to remember which sign you are, that's what I say in my head to remember. Really and it reminds me every time.
That's really funny. Yeah, I'm a Capricorn, and I hate that, like, I'm like, astrology isn't real, except, like, I read my horoscope, and I'm like, shit, that's dead on.
Yeah,
dead
it's
on.
So
I
accurate.
hate that it's so accurate.
Yeah.
And I think that you are a very classic Leo, and I think Christopher's a very classic Sagittarius.
I am. And I think I always thought of Leos as, like, flashier and more extroverted than me. So I was like, I'm not really a Leo, but I am very much a Leo in my own way, you know?
Yeah. And I think it's not just your sun sign, it's also all the moon stuff. And I don't know enough to know, but
no, I'm definitely a Gemini rising. It's very accurate.
I don't know what that means, but I'll take your word for it.
Well, I am. But yeah.
Listeners, what's your sun sign? Write us in. What's your big 3? That's what I'm going to say.
Yeah,
what's
your big 3? Yeah.
And is it accurate?
Yeah. Do you think it's accurate?
I'll make it a poll question.
I swear, like, most people who say that astrology isn't accurate because it never describes them, I think it does describe them and they don't want to see themselves clearly.
I think it's totally accurate, and I hate how accurate it is because it sounds like it's made up, but obviously it's not, because why is it right all the time?
It's very much not made up.
Always right. It always makes sense, but it sounds like it should be Wrong.
And if you feel like you truly are not represented by your sun sign, first of all, use some introspection. See if it really doesn't represent you, or if you're just maybe in denial about some of your more difficult qualities, you know? Because accepting that you're a Leo, for example, is like, there are some tough pills to swallow that come with that, of like needing to be the center of attention, stuff like that. And it's good to like be able to accept that. And also, if you really feel like it doesn't describe you, look into your rising sign and your moon sign, because your different signs represent different parts of yourself. Sun sign's only one aspect of your personality. So maybe the rest will kind of add more clarification for you.
I remember first finding out about my sun sign because I was in my parents' room, like trying to find something. And I found this like little book that said like, you're going to have a Capricorn. And it had like a little cartoon. It must have been like from a baby shower when I was being born. And I'm like, And I like look in the book and it's like, basically saying like, you're in for a real treat. Like, what a challenge. Stubborn. Always thinks that they're right. And I was like, what the frig? And my mom's like, what are you looking at? And I was like, this book. And she's like, oh yeah, I got that at like your baby shower. And I was like, is this about me? And she's like, And then that was the end of that conversation. I was like, I don't know if this is a good thing.
Right? Like, some of it is you really got to take a hard look at yourself.
Yeah.
With some of the stuff.
I think it's right. I think everything they talk about Capricorns being like, I don't think I'm like a cold-hearted bitch, but I feel like I have my moments.
You are analytical about your feelings instead of feeling your feelings.
Yeah, that's like...
And that's very accurate.
And every, conversation where I have to talk about my feelings or someone else's feelings or like have a feelings conversation, I always end up being very analytical.
Yes.
And it is not great.
Like the lobster pot.
You always bring that up.
I can't forget about the lobster pot.
I think it's like ruined relationships for me because I just don't think about feelings in a feelings way. I think about what is rational, and I'm trying to be better.
I'm going to do an episode one day about, what's the thing with autism?
Oh, like where it's like alexithymia.
Yes, alexithymia, where you like aren't feeling your feelings.
I don't really, I feel feelings.
But do you?
I feel feelings. I feel sad. I feel angry. I think it's hard for me to recognize when I feel really happy.
Yeah.
Which is depressing.
Yeah. It's sad. I'm going to do an episode on it, and you can just see if you relate to anything from it, you know?
I think, yeah. And I think, yeah, I do analyze feelings more often. Whereas Christopher, a fire sign, feels lots of feelings. And I think we complement each other in the fact that we are polar opposites.
Yeah. That's kind of nice.
I think that's really nice for me. I don't know if it's nice for him to be dating someone who's as analytical as I am.
I mean, imagine if you were both like,
I don't think it'd be
those
good.
Huge feelings, you know? It'd be chaos.
I think it'd be good for him to have someone who's a little bit more halfway.
Yeah.
But I think we are just such polar opposites. I don't know how we've survived, but here we are.
Here you are.
Yeah.
A classic modern day love story.
Yeah.
All right. And with that, should we get into this meat?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready to snort it up.
You're huffing. You're not snorting.
Huffing.
Yeah, we're not snorting. We're huffing.
I know lots of things about drugs.
You have so much drug knowledge.
I have so much drug knowledge.
You know the terms, paraphernalia.
I remember being a baby PA fresh out of school, and I had to ask the nurse how many cigarettes were in a pack. And she goes, oh, so precious. And I was like, I just don't know how many that is.
I literally did not know until
20.
You told me in the
20.
nicotine episode that it's 20.
It's 20.
I had no idea until an hour ago.
Yeah, well, because one, I think we very much grew up in a culture of vaping, I would say. Because I think more people vaped than smoked when we were...
No, I don't remember anyone vaping till like
now it's
out
very
of college.
Vaping, but we also just didn't smoke too.
Yeah,
so.
But kids definitely smoked cigarettes when we were in high school.
They?
Uh-huh. I remember smoke.
Did she?
Yeah, I'll take that out. But yeah.
I don't remember anyone smoking, but I also was very sheltered.
Exactly.
So
kids definitely smoke cigarettes when
I
we were
did
in high
not know
school.
how many, and so then you're caring for someone who's like smoking and doing drugs, and you're like, good morning, sir. How are you? And they're like, fuck yourself. And you're like, I will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I think I just assumed cigarettes came in a dozen, like cookies. I don't know what that's based off of, right?
Baker's dozen.
13, yeah.
Yeah,
extra
that'd
13.
be nice.
Yeah.
No, they come in 20.
I know that now. Well, I'm about to educate you on another aspect of drugs.
Yeah,
and that
I'm excited.
is inhalants.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's get into it. And we're not talking about albuterol, folks.
No.
We're talking
unfortunately.
whippets.
Yeah.
So I'm going to preface this with, we all know how I feel about doing drugs. Save them till you're older.
Yes, that's our official stance on the WOF.
Yeah, save them till you're older when you really need them.
Yep.
Because life comes at you hard. You're going to want those drugs for later, you know?
You want them to, like, be good when you're later.
Yeah.
Later, you know?
You don't want to feel
also,
guilty about it. You want them just
economical because, you know, if you start them young, you're going to need more when you're older.
True.
Think about your finances when you're doing drugs.
Yeah. Think about the finances. You'll need less of them to get high, you know?
Exactly.
All that said, there are absolutely some drugs out there that you should not ever do.
Okay.
Ever. And I do not say that in like a dare scare tactic type of way of like drugs are bad and illegal.
Xylazine.
Sure.
That's a new one that's being mixed with fentanyl and it's like destroying your tissues.
Oh, God.
Your meat will rot off.
Oh.
So don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm saying this more in like a these will fuck up your life type of way. I'm like not here to scare anyone in a legal threat or like just kind of a default drugs are bad. Like I said, I think there are plenty of drugs that are fine to do when you're older.
In moderation?
Yes, psychedelics,
sure.
stuff like that. They're made illegal because the government sucks and oppresses us.
Alcohol,
but they're
in moderation.
No, it's not. Alcohol is a toxin. I would say shrooms are better than alcohol.
Do it when you're older.
Yes, do it. All of these, do them when you're older. But with certain drugs, I would say if you can help it, do not do them at all. You know, there are other drugs that are safer and better and less harmful. So again, this isn't a blank statement of all drugs are bad, but I'm going to talk about a drug that is like legit bad.
Okay.
And don't do it.
All right.
I feel like the war on drugs and DARE have both shown us that fear-mongering and threats of punishment are not good prevention strategies. So instead, I'm going to take more of like an informative and harm reduction focused approach to this topic, and I'm reclaiming the DARE movement to make it more like harm reduction.
Dare to do drugs.
Yeah. Dare to do drugs when you're older.
When you're older.
Yeah. That's the new slogan.
When your prefrontal cortex is fully developed.
Yeah. Dare to do drugs at 25.
There's so many studies that are showing like you shouldn't do drugs before your prefrontal cortex is specifically marijuana. We're going to get to it one day.
Well, if you think that weed is bad, I can't imagine like what the other harder drugs would do to your
I can't even imagine.
Cortex
I
is
don't
developed,
know.
you know?
I don't know.
Yeah. So save them till you're older, but Whippits is one of those drugs that you should just like not do at all. Not just because they're super bad for you and they can like fuck you up forever, but also they just like don't sound worth it. It's one of those drugs, and I brought this up in your first addiction episode because you were talking about drugs that have like a really short uptake time and then like they last a really short time.
Short half-life.
Yeah.
So they hit hard. They hit fast and then they go away, making you longing for more.
Yeah. And Whippets is one of those things where they do not, like the high of it does not last very long. It doesn't sound that great. And then you're just going to want more and more and more of it. Yeah. And you're just going to be like zonked out of your brain.
Here's a dumb question.
Yeah.
What is a Whippet?
All right. So Whippets, not to be confused with Whippets, Whippets, which is a British breed of medium-sized dog of the sight hound type, which is related to the larger greyhound and the smaller Italian greyhound.
Oh, it's like the Goldilocks version.
Yes,
you know?
it's just right.
Just right.
Yeah.
And those are very cute.
Right? They are very cute.
I like how greyhounds and Italian greyhounds and Whippets look like they're like sad and skinny.
And scared.
And
they're always shaking.
Love a greyhound.
My roommate Tori in grad school had a greyhound.
I
had never really cared about them before, but Feline, she was so
like
gentle.
Quiet and gentle.
Yeah, they're not like dogs.
And basically cats.
They can't.
Maybe that's why I want one.
Yeah, they're like big, giant,
cats.
deer-like cats. They can't swim because they're like barrels and they'll tip over on their sides. So Feline couldn't swim.
My aunt had a puppy mill, R.I.P. Murphy. He just died. He was like diabetic with one eye and cancer, but he was a pug French bulldog mix. So like two incredibly inbred dogs bred together to make one incredibly inbred dog.
Yeah.
He was so dense because they have that like chest barrel chest.
Yeah.
And he had these like pug spindly legs that he just sank. So he had to wear a life jacket.
Aww.
But he wasn't smart enough to know that he would sink every time he went in the water, and he was obsessed with it. So he would just jump from the car into the water and just immediately drown. And we had to like go after him and grab him. And he'd be like,
fucking pugs.
Oh man,
no self-preservation.
So dumb.
They're so stupid.
He was a great dog.
I love them.
Except for he was just like not intelligent at all.
I love how dumb they are.
Yeah.
And last fact about Whippets the dog is that some people call them poor man's racehorse.
Oh.
Poor Whippets.
Oh.
Whippets with an I, on the other hand,
yeah,
is when you huff nitrous oxide to get high.
Oh.
And it's called Whippets because it's the same gas used in whipped cream canisters.
Oh.
So, like you were saying, this is why the person at the checkout looked at me weird when I bought six cans of whipped cream. Yes, that is why. Because people suck on them to get high.
I was just trying to do a birthday party.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah. So that's why if you ever try to buy a bunch of whipped cream at once, they will give you a weird look and maybe stop you from buying.
And I even
that
said
many.
It's for a birthday. And she was like,
we're doing Whippets.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So what is nitrous oxide?
Yeah.
Well, according to Wikipedia, nitrous oxide, commonly known as laughing gas, nitrous, fictitious air.
Sure.
I think in the UK, it's called NOS, or some people call it balloons, because you put it in a balloon, or you can put it in a balloon, and then like you huff on the balloon.
Oh.
I think I made it sound in that first episode when I was talking about Whippets, I made it sound like it's the same air that's used to like traditionally fill up balloons. Obviously, it's not. That's helium. But what people, like how balloons come into the mix is people will fill a balloon with the nitrous oxide, and then they'll like suck on the balloon because it's very, very, very cold when it comes out of the canister. Like if you just buy a canister of nitrous oxide, and I'll talk about this more in my harm reduction. Yes, you can buy canisters of nitrous oxide at like smoke shops now in most states in the U.S.
That canister of helium?
They're smaller than that. But yes, you can just buy it. And some of them are flavored.
Oh,
and they have like this cute, fun packaging on it to make it look like it's like this fun thing.
The candied cigarettes of Whippet.
Yes, it really is. Except it's like not candy. It's just bad. But they're just like marketing it as if it's like this fun thing. And I think some people...
I hate that.
Yeah. And I think because Whippets sound so silly and non-serious...
They sound super silly.
Right? I follow this one TikToker, Lil Chomp, who I love, and they work at a sex...
Is it Little Chomp or Lil?
Lil Chomp.
Love it even
more. Check them out. I love them.
Lil Chomp.
Yeah, but he works at a sex and smoke shop.
Love it.
And he said that a lot of people will come in and be like, oh, Whippets, I haven't done those since high school. Let me try a canister. Like, just because it seems like this kind of silly, non-serious nostalgia thing, they said that they've never seen people go downhill faster than on Whippets. And they were a heroin addict for years. So they've like been in the drug scene. They said opiates, benzos, they've never seen people deteriorate so fast as when they come in and first buy Whippets.
Really?
Yes. Where they're like a totally like normally functioning person. And then they're like, one day they're just like, I'll give that a try. And he said like within 6 months, they're like not parking their car straight. They're like not able to handle the push pull of the door. They're not able to like pay with money. Their brains are just like, they're so confused. It causes so much like cognitive and motor decline. I'll get into it.
Oh my God.
But yeah, in the UK, you hear it called NOS or balloons. But nitrous oxide is a chemical compound, an oxide of nitrogen with the formula N2O. And at room temperature, it's a colorless, non-flammable gas and has a slightly sweet scent and taste.
Ooh.
It has significant medical uses like in surgery and dentistry. Obviously, you hear a lot about like getting laughing gas for dentistry stuff. And it has anesthetic and pain-reducing effects. And it is on the World Health Organization's list of essential medicines.
Okay.
So it definitely does have benefits. It's not like a all-out, this is bad and dangerous. Yeah. But the difference between Whippets and what you're getting at the dentist is that according to an article from the Cleveland Clinic, in medical use, nitrous oxide is given in conjunction with a pretty high-flow oxygen. That helps to keep you safe from some of the effects of the gas. So people using it recreationally aren't using it with oxygen at the same time. They're just taking straight shots of it. So that's like why it's okay at the dentist, then it becomes very harmful when people use it recreationally. They're not pumping it in with this big constant stream of oxygen. It's just straight N2O. It can cause some euphoric effects when you inhale it, and it can give you a very brief high, but like it's very brief. It's not a long lasting thing. So again, it just like doesn't seem worth it as far as drugs go. It's like such a short time of being high, and then you just like crave more and more of it. So I would say teens have probably been doing whippets since the invention of whipped cream with anything
whipped cream in the can.
Yes, you're right. Yeah, it has to be in the can because the nitrous oxide is what causes the whipped cream to come out in this like fluffy formation. So I think since the invention of canned whipped cream, people have probably been sucking on that air. But like I said, now that they're selling those nitrous oxide tanks at head shops, and you can like buy them online, because some people do use them legitimately for if you're like a baker, for example, you can like buy the canisters for your like, they have whipped cream like handheld machines.
Yeah.
Instead of buying the store-bought stuff, you're like buying the cream, putting it in this fancy
or maybe even
thing.
Making the cream. If you're a baker, you can make the cream yourself.
Yeah. You're probably making the cream, putting it in this kitchen tool, and then you have to buy like the canisters of the nitrous oxide to like give it the air that you need to make it into whipped cream. So that's why they're not straight up illegal, because there are legitimate uses, but like selling them at smoke shops and putting them like flavoring, saying it's flavored air.
I don't like that.
What the fuck?
I don't like that.
Yeah, it just feels so predatory.
Yeah.
Of people just do not realize how insidious this stuff is. I mean, like inhaling anything is going to be bad for you. Whippet seems like out of everything you can inhale, other than like huffing gas, like it seems like whippets are.
I love the smell of gas.
Ew, do you?
Yeah.
I don't get that at all.
You don't like that?
No.
Gas, tires, farms.
No, ew.
Every time I'm at a gas station, I go,
ew.
I'm not like sniffing the little pump, but I'm just, the smell of gas in the air is nice.
I don't like that at all.
You know what else? I love the smell of bleach.
Ew.
It just cleanses the nostrils.
Ew. I think part of this is that you are like an under taster and under smeller.
Maybe.
You know? For me,
sorry, I don't have superior taste.
Well,
I'm not a super taster.
You should be. Yeah, you got to huff gas instead to get your fix.
I'm not getting a fix. I just think it's a nice smell.
I don't think that at all. All right. So according to that same article from the Cleveland Clinic, inhaling nitrous oxide produces a very transient high. It gives you like a tingling sensation, a sense of dizziness, calmness, and relaxation. And you might have some slurred speech and loss of coordination.
Oh.
That's like just from, in the moment, like the acute use of it. Those are like the effects you're getting. So like I said, it's not like it's giving you this huge rush of like dopamine and oxytocin and whatever, like, or serotonin. It's not like calming you down.
Is it
kind of just giving you like a head high?
Right. Is that because the nitrous oxide is taking the place of oxygen in your brain?
That is part of it, but that is not the only cause.
Okay.
I will get there. Ooh. And that was one of the theories, is what's happening is why you're getting high, because you're pushing out the oxygen. But like, I think that's only part of it. All right. So are whippets addictive?
Yeah.
So like we've talked about before, you can get addicted to pretty much anything if you're dedicated enough, especially if you have ADHD. You're just like always looking for stimulation, essentially. So you can get addicted to anything. But some things are mentally addictive and some things are physically addictive. And whippets is one of those things that seems like it's mostly like a mental addiction, but there are some physical components. So the Cleveland Clinic article says that like using cocaine, opioids, and other physically addicting substances gives you that rush of dopamine and serotonin. And that hormone altering rush is part of what makes those drugs so physically addictive, is that they change the physiology of how your body functions.
Okay.
So whippets, on the other hand, don't have an effect on dopamine or serotonin. Instead, part of the whippet high is the result of the decreased oxygen and increased carbon dioxide in your body.
I have another question. Is this also why people do that like autoerotic asphyxiation?
Yes. I believe so, because you're cutting off oxygen. So
okay.
It's just like changing the levels in your brain. Like anyone can get high or addicted to that feeling of just like some kind of change into what's happening in your brain. I think of it as. Someone else was talking about how there's not a lot of research into this, especially because it's only become a real problem in the last few years.
Are doing like whippits in the parking lot.
Yeah, they're too faded on whippits. Yeah, yeah. So they can't make any progress because they all just lose function. Yeah,
we've gone through 25 scientists. They're all on whippits.
They all get hooked. They're just out there stumbling around.
Yeah.
No, it's just like one of those things that I think hasn't been in the mainstream as a problem, but like I said, because they're selling those canisters, more and more youths are doing them, and people are doing them in much higher volumes. You don't have to go to the store and buy 10 cans of whipped cream in order to like get high off them. You can go and buy a few canisters at the smoke shop. So it's just like much more accessible. It's much more marketed to people. And so it's just, they're still doing research into it. I think in the next few years, I think this is going to become more mainstream and people are going to be like, holy shit, this is a problem that no one saw coming. I saw it coming and now you will too. Whippit awareness.
Whippit awareness.
So someone was talking about how it can also kind of like imitate a similar pathway as
WAM.
Opiates in some way.
Whippit Awareness Month.
Nice.
Okay.
WAM. But I feel like there is not enough research to say exactly what is happening, but like the primary thing with whippets is, like you said, where it's that decreased oxygen and increased carbon dioxide. But I don't think that's the only thing. I think we're going to find out that there is some other kind of chemical component to it. But for now, we're going to use that as our main explanation.
All right.
Because of that, because they're not kind of hitting on those dopamine levels the same way that like opiates or whatever are, you're getting more of the mental addiction where you're getting into this thing where your brain's used to having it and then you like really crave it.
Mm-hmm. It's habit forming.
Yes, very much so. And why is it so harmful? So the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, the SAMHSA.
I like SAMHSA. I've been reading their stuff.
Got good stuff. They report whippets as being the most popular recreational inhalant drug. I feel like there's not a lot of them, but out of the ones...
I can't think of any other...
You know what else people huff is... And I don't
glue.
Yes, glue. And then I don't know if this is also nitrous oxide. I should have looked it up. But keyboard cleaner. Those little, the little canisters of keyboard cleaner with like the long straw to like blow out the crumbs in your keyboards. People huff that. I don't know if that's also nitrous oxide.
People need more hobbies.
Honestly. And that's part of it. Like we talked about. It's
hobbies.
Community. People turn to these things because they're lacking community in some way. So like with all drugs, I would say that part of the rehabilitation or keeping yourself off drugs is like focusing on building your community, which is a big ask and it's very difficult in this day and age. But that's definitely part of it, is that people are sad, they're scared of the future, they're anxious. Kids these days, God, everyone's addicted to screens and they're scared of school shootings. Like being a kid sucks.
Didn't Australia just make social media illegal for anyone under 16?
God, I hope so. I don't know how much that'll do, but
we have a ton of Australian listeners. I think that's a true thing.
Oh.
Let me know if I am wrong.
But like, how are they going to stop it? You know, because you're supposed to be like 13.
It's probably going to be like,
media.
when you go on a website for like a specific wine or alcohol and they're like, you must be 18. Are you 18?
Yeah.
And you go, yeah.
Yes.
And they go, okay. It's probably going to be like that.
Yes.
I don't know. Interesting.
Yeah. So I don't know what's going on there. But this report estimates that more than 12 million users in the U.S. have tried whippets at least once. And it was like, one study said that like
12 million,
like 27, and it was a UK study, but it was like 27% of teens under 18 in the UK have tried whippets.
That's
like,
insane.
That's a quarter. I've never been around anyone who's doing whippets other than like,
I don't even know how whippets are done. I'm going to have to watch a YouTube video.
Yeah. I don't know if I want to give an instruction manual. You're essentially just inhaling it. You're just huffing on it. You're just like,
you just get a cartridge and you just suck it in?
Well, you don't want to suck on the cartridge directly. Like for a whipped cream canister, this isn't an educational tool, but I feel like it's good to know what's going on. But you just hold it straight up and down where the cream isn't coming out, and then you press the nozzle on the whipped cream canister and hold it to your mouth, and it's just the nitrous oxide without the cream. And that's
cream's the best part, guys.
I agree. But not for people doing whippets. And then if you're using the canisters, like I said, never, ever, ever put your mouth directly on it because it's so cold it can like freeze your lips off. So people put it into balloons is the main way to do it. Or some people put like a bag over their head and like put it in there. It's crazy.
Jesus.
I know. This whole world that you had no idea about. Yeah, here it is. Okay. A 2018 UK study found that 27.9% of 18 to 25-year-olds had used Whippets at least once, and 7% had used them within the past month.
In the past month?
Yep. Isn't that crazy?
This is wild. This is a culture I just didn't know was among us.
I know. And think of how many parents with kids who have no idea that this is like an up and coming thing.
They really love balloons.
Yeah, they're just big partiers. They love a birthday party. Yeah, I feel like it is so important to know about because it's so minimized and because it is becoming such a big problem and it's not taken seriously because it sounds like a silly thing, but it's like really not. It's a very dangerous thing. So any usage of whippets recreationally is considered to be abuse. There's like no normal amount of whippets that you're doing that's like, I'm just a casual whippet user.
Recreational whippets.
Any use is considered to be abuse.
Okay.
So the gas is inhaled to achieve...
like meth. Like people just aren't using that for fun.
Yeah, there's no casual use of meth.
Yeah.
You know, you're either on meth or you aren't. So any use of whippets is bad.
Okay.
So like I said, it can create like a temporary euphoric or hallucinogenic effect, but it's like very short-lived. Whippet abuse can lead to serious health risks such as oxygen deprivation, nerve damage, and heart failure. It can also lead to death. So
what?
Yeah, so that euphoric feeling that you get is only lasts a few seconds up to like a couple minutes, but that's it. So then, of course, repeated use over a short period is really common. And the more whippets you inhale, the more you're decreasing the oxygen in your body. So like then probably the more stuff you're craving to like inhale in, and you're just going to like turn to the whippets instead of like, no, what your brain needs is just oxygen. You need to like breathe slowly and deeply.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Let's say you have a balloon of one whippet. Do you just inhale the whole thing at the same time, or do you like a glass of wine kind of like...
Yeah, you're like sucking on it.
Sucking on it, chatting, sucking on it, chatting.
You're not chatting. You're like probably drooling and staring at the wall.
Oh.
It's not really a functional drug, and that's another, I think, a downside. Although it's I think people use them because they want to escape their brains and their lives so badly. Like, I get it. But it's not even a fun drug. Not to say that some drugs are fun, but they are. It's not a fun drug. It's not even like sipping wine where it makes you more social and you're going to have like fun with your friends. No, you're going to be like zonked out, like staring at the ceiling. Truly. Your brain is just like, you can't really think or process. It's not a hangout drug.
Okay.
There can be some problems that come with acute use where, like, in rare cases, some people have died from asphyxiation after inhaling very high amounts of nitrous oxide. That's another reason why you want to, like, suckle on the balloon as opposed to, like, one huge inhale because it can be, like, way too much at once and it can cause, suffocation. There's something called sudden sniffing death syndrome.
Oh, my God.
Have you ever heard of that?
No.
Apparently, sniffing death syndrome is a fatal heart failure that can occur even after a single episode of inhalant abuse. So you could do one time of whippets, and have this happen to you.
Whoa.
Yeah. A 2023 report by the National Institute of Drug Abuse estimated that about 107,000 people died of drug overdoses in 2021, and that whippets were involved in 3.2% of those deaths.
I feel
like seems high.
That seems really high.
Doesn't that seem really high? 3.2% were whippet deaths, and you never hear about it. I've only learned about this because of TikTok, because I somehow a while
You're
ago
on Whippit TikTok?
I was, but now since they switched over to probably Mark Zuckerberg stealing our data, you can't search whippets on TikTok anymore.
Boo.
And I had all these resources.
Freedom of speech called.
I know. I was just trying to look up whippets so I could talk about like how to stay safe, but you can't even look up whippets. And like those poor dog whippet owners who are like, I just want to be in my whippet community.
Oh, that's right.
And now you can't do whippets with an E or an I.
Really?
Yes. So like those poor dog owners. But also it's important to like spread awareness of this. So taking away the ability to like search the term whippets on TikTok isn't helping anyone. It's just like removing crucial information. Like truly, I have never been more scared of a drug in my adult life than hearing these people talk about their whippet addictions. It was like harrowing. I was like, oh my God, I've never heard of this. It's so scary. But I somehow just ended up hearing all these people's stories. and it fucked them up. Some of those deaths can happen from like acute use where it's, the sudden sniffing death or whatever, but the biggest harm from whippets is the prolonged use. That's really where the big danger of whippets comes in.
Okay.
So abusing inhalants like whippets over time can cause significant damage, particularly to your muscles, kidneys, and liver.
Really?
Research has shown that they also have potential to cause severe vitamin B12 deficiency.
What?
And that is really the main thing that'll fuck you up is the B12 deficiency. Your body isn't able to absorb and process B12.
You have to get injections.
And even then, even if you got injections, I don't know if your body can absorb it.
Really?
Yes. It says for 3 days afterwards, your body is not able to process or absorb
You need
B12.
That's an important one.
Exactly. From that Cleveland Clinic article, Dr. Carl says that using whippets extensively can impair your body's ability to process vitamin B12, which can lead to severe muscle weakness to the point of hospitalization. The effect in someone who uses whippets can be similar to people living with Guillain-Barré syndrome. Guillain-Barré syndrome, which is a condition where the immune system attacks the body's nerves. So you're essentially giving yourself this immune system attack on your nerves.
Guillain-Barré is nothing to fuck around. It makes me nervous.
Yeah. So imagine giving yourself that by sucking on whippets. It's such a serious syndrome. Yeah. In cases of extreme B12 deficiency, people can be hospitalized for long periods of time and even permanently lose muscle function. It can disable you. It can paralyze you. It can turn you into quadriplegic. People have numbness in their hands, in their legs. People lose function from the spine down.
Oh my God.
You can lose control of your bladder. You can't go to the bathroom by yourself. You need someone to wipe you.
Oh my God.
And this can happen after a few months of using it. It happens very fast. I feel like with meth, unless you're going 0 to 60, I feel like meth takes a few years to see the truest
even
long-term
meth,
effects.
It doesn't damage your... It's cognitively, yes, but it doesn't really damage your muscles like that. It's usually you get an infection from injecting.
Yep. This is cognitive and physical.
Jesus
So it's
Christ.
Everything. So repeated use of whippets can also severely decrease the oxygen available in your blood, and that can put enormous pressure on your organs and lead to kidney disease and liver damage.
Oh my God. You're going to go on dialysis because of a whippet.
Because of whippets. And it's just not even worth it. It's not worth it. It's not a fun drug.
Do a different drug.
Do a different drug. That's what I'm here to say. I'm not saying no to all drugs. I'm saying do a different one. Whippets are not it. They're just not a cool drug. Unlike those other drugs. So like I said, Lil Chomp on TikTok, their name is Jack. But yeah, they just said that they've never seen people deteriorate faster. And
I'm gonna follow Little Chomp.
Yeah, please do. They have so many good stories from just working at the sex shop. So many ridiculous people come in, and it's just, I find them very entertaining. I've been watching a lot of TikToks from people who work at these smoke shops who say it really hurts their souls to have to sell people whippets because they've seen how fast they cause this cognitive decline. But because they're legal, they have to sell them to people.
They shouldn't be legal.
No, they should not be legal, at all. It should be at least more difficult to do the whippets. Why are we making them so readily available, At least make them suck out of a whipped cream canister. You're not going to have this, repeated use. And when people get really hooked on them, they'll be just doing them all day. They're just sucking on this canister all day. It's all they want to do. They want it more than oxygen. They just want to be breathing in nitrous oxide all day, every day. It will destroy your life and make you not care about anything but nitrous oxide. I follow this other creator on TikTok, Oral Lanlaw. Orilanlaw. I don't know, but I'll put it in the show notes. But she is recovering from a whippet addiction. She's got a bunch of tattoos. Her eyes are tattooed, but that's not because of the whippets that it looks like that. That's just a side effect of life choices. But she said that she was using 4 to 8.
Her eyes are tattooed?
Yeah, you can get your eyeballs tattooed black. They're black. I don't know.
Whoa.
The whites of her eyes are tattooed black.
That's super
people
dangerous.
can do that?
Yeah, you can go blind from that.
Yeah, it looks really scary. But she said she was using 4 to 8 big cans of nitrous a day.
How much is a big can?
I don't know. I was trying to do my research.
How big is a big can?
I don't know. But
how big is a regular can?
Some people, I think we're spending $100 a day on this nitrous. Yeah, she said it's all she thought about. She has severe spinal nerve damage and can't feel her hands or feet. She's lost motor function, balance, memory. You can get severe brain damage. Some, like, obviously, like, you can die from this, but there were other people in the comments saying, like, my friend's son died from this, or my friend's son became a quadriplegic because of this. It disables you. It paralyzes you.
Oh, my God.
It affects you in every way. Like you said, it's not even just, like, the cognitive impacts of heroin. It's like the cognitive impacts of heroin times 20 plus nerve damage, paralysis, like
all in a very short
motor function.
Period of time.
Yes, very, very short.
Jesus.
Yeah, you need someone to help you go to the bathroom, you know? You can become blind from that vitamin B12 deficiency, and it can give you like Alzheimer's essentially.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So there are just so many dangerous aspects of doing whippets. I'm going to wrap everything up with some tips about harm reduction and recovery.
Okay.
Because like I said, I'm not here to like fearmonger war on drugs you guys into not doing whippets. I just want you to be safe, and I care about you and your futures. And I think there are better uses of your time, and there are things you can do that maybe aren't the healthiest for you, but they're better than whippets.
Yeah.
I think there are lots of drugs out there that are better than whippets.
Sounds like anything is better than whippets.
Right?
From what you're telling me.
Yes.
This seems like whippets. It sounds like the high lasts for a short period of time, and it does like a max amount of damage.
Yes.
Cognitively and physically.
Yes. Yeah. There's like really not many positives. And I don't think there's any positives to it. It's not cool. It's not even like, well, it's fun to do with my friends at a party. Like, it doesn't even seem fun to do, you know? So I struggle to see the draw of it. But especially when you're young and you're impressionable and people are doing this thing that seems silly, it's like, yeah, sure, I'll try this thing. I don't know. It's like a whipped cream canister.
What's wrong with, whipped cream, so innocent.
Yeah. And I think that's like the insidiousness of it. As opposed to like if someone offered you heroin at a party, most people are very aware of the dangers of heroin.
There's like steps you take to get up to heroin and fentanyl and methamphetamines and stuff like hard drugs like this. But Whippet almost seems innocent, but it's definitely not innocent.
Yeah. It has the effects that are, for some cases, worse than hard drugs.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And yeah, hearing Lil Trump say that, coming from a former heroin addict, saying he's never seen anyone decline faster is crazy.
Wow.
He said that one day they come in and they're just like totally functioning, and then they're just like parking sideways and they can't open the door. Like,
oh my God.
Yeah, it's really scary. So obviously, like with all of these things, the best case scenario is that you just don't try them in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, it does seem like there is a bit of a euphoric effect when you huff it, but like
there's other drugs that can cause that too.
Exactly.
And then they're not going to cause Guillain-Barré.
Exactly. Like, truly, I don't know, try some Asmodex. Because when sometimes when I think I'm pulling too hard, I need to breathe in more with like my lungs. But I think sometimes I like breathe it into my brain. That's not a proper way to talk about that. But you know what I mean? When you're like inhaling into your head instead of inhaling into your chest. And I think I inhale too much into my head. But I really feel like I feel like I could pass out. I'm like, whoa. I'm like dizzy. Things feel like, whoa.
Yeah.
And it does feel a little good sometimes in a crazy head rush way. I don't know. Do that. Inhale a lot through a straw or something like that.
Okay.
If you want to get this head rush. And yeah, I just feel like it's so much easier to just not have the knowledge of however good it feels because it's so short-lived. Yeah, just not even once. Enjoy laughing gas while you're at the dentist and it's flushed with oxygen, and just like that's what Mormons do. Not all Mormons, but like on that Secret Lives of Mormon Wives.
Yeah.
When they would go and get their Botox shots, they would get laughing gas, which you don't need for Botox, but they essentially was the only opportunity they had to like do drugs. So they would all like get laughing gas.
Is that why they all have Botox?
Part of it, I think it's like a cyclical, which came first, chicken or the egg.
I don't want to make fun of anyone's religion.
Yeah, it's a cult. So.
But I feel like a lot of people maybe
say it.
How can you do Botox but not do caffeine?
Right? It's almost like it's illogical. And it doesn't make sense. And it's just rules for the sake of control.
Right. Botox but no caffeine doesn't make sense to me.
And they can drink soda because caffeine's okay when it's cold because the Mormon church partnered with Coca-Cola is why
it doesn't make any sense.
It's almost like these things are made up and
we don't have
aren't
time.
Based in any
It doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't, and it won't.
I'm listening to Spun someplace underneath, and they're doing a big thing on the LDS.
Oh God, it makes me so upset. It's hard for me to even learn about it.
So it's. I think it's good because I want to be educated.
Yes,
and I think they do a really good job, and I want to support them.
Mm-hmm.
It is hard to listen to.
It's infuriating, especially because it's one of those things that you can't really talk about without like offending people because it's a religion, so you're supposed to be respectful, but like it's so harmful to so many people. All right, we'll talk about that maybe on a Patreon bonus where the people who want to hear it can pay to hear it.
And we won't just talk about Mormonism. Let's talk about the Catholics.
Please, we'll talk about all of them.
Yeah.
So back to Whippits.
This always goes back to Whippits.
It always comes back to Whippits. That's the thing. All right, this is going to sound really cheesy.
Yeah.
But as far as harm reduction goes, you know I got to throw in one of these hokey Aunt Grace hippy dippy things. But truly,
get your chamomile tea out.
Yes, start smoking it. If you're not going to get an Asthma-Nex long-acting inhaler to get a head high, try Wim Hof breathing before you try Whippits. And I'm being so serious.
You're being sincere.
I am being sincere. I fell off the Wim Hof bandwagon like a couple of years ago because I was in such a good routine with it, and I lost my routine because of COVID, and then I like never got back on it. But when I was doing Wim Hof, which is a breathing method created by this guy Wim Hof, who's known as the Iceman, he's this crazy Dutch man. He's an extreme athlete. He's set, I think, like 26 world records. He does like cold water swimming, but he kind of created this breathing technique. Well, he used, I think, like ancient breathing techniques and kind of repackage them into this method. But his whole thing is where you're like doing this round of breathing techniques that increases your oxygen levels and blows out the carbon dioxide in your body. And it's been shown to help with depression, anxiety, mood, mental focus, and pain management. And when I was first learning about it, and people were talking about like, I don't need drugs because I just get high on this. I was like, oh, shut the fuck up. And then I got really into it. It truly does feel like you're high. When you get really into it and you do like a few rounds back to back, it feels like nothing else. I think I was addicted, not in a bad way. I think I was addicted to it. And I was just...
You're in Wim Hof recovery.
Yeah. No, I think if you're going to be addicted to anything, that's the thing to be addicted to because it's so good for you. It's so, like, there are all these studies on it. There's all this research into it. Like, it does have all these benefits to it. So essentially, you're doing, for one round of Wim Hof breathing, you're breathing in kind of quickly, not like hyperventilating, but just like without stopping in between. Like that.
Let's all do it together.
Yes.
It'd be really good for the sound.
Like a wave. But you kind of want to do it quickly, back to back. Yeah. 30 in a row.
Christopher's really going to like this.
Yeah, he's going to love it.
That was a Whippit. No.
Yeah. Kristen's huffing in the corner.
I'm just doing Whippits.
What did I say about Whippits? And then like on that 30th breath, you want to exhale most of the air out, and then you're going to hold out for as long as you can. It takes a while to like build up, but when I was at the peak of it, I was able to hold my breath out for like 2.5 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. It was very impressive. I got really good at it. I should get back into it. There's an app and everything you can do.
Ooh.
But so after you've held your breath out for as long as you can, don't do it to the point where you're passing out. Make it reasonable. But then you take in a full big breath with your nose and hold it for 15 seconds before releasing. And then you do a few rounds of that. On that inhale in, after you've been holding your breath out, you get such a head rush, such a head high. It makes you feel so good. It makes me feel like, it makes you like buzz. It's what I imagine inhalants are like, but better. So I just think, and I know it sounds lame, but truly, if you're looking to get some kind of head rush, head high, try the Wim Hof method first before you go to Whippits, because it is very good for you. And I'm guessing it probably gives you similar feelings to doing Whippits, but like so much better for you. So with that one Wim Hof PSA out of the way, if you really feel like you must try Whippits for whatever reason, no judgment. I'm just going to give you some tips on staying as safe as possible because I believe that harm reduction is important. And while, yes, ideally it would be you don't do them, that's not always realistic. And so I think it's important to provide some harm reduction tips where, like, if you're going to do them, I want you to at least be as safe as you possibly can be. So a Redditor under the username @itsflicker had a really nice comprehensive post on Reddit about harm reduction for whippets, and I'll put in the show notes if you want to read through the whole thing, but I just pulled some key points. They said that one of the most dangerous parts of the way people use nitrous most of the time is the fact that it's coming from a cartridge, like I said, which is extremely cold, and the gas is so cold that it can freeze your lips and throat, and in some cases it can cause damage to the lungs or lead to them collapsing. So that's why people put it in the balloons before inhaling. So you would blow it into a balloon, let it sit for a minute, and then inhale it. And don't ever put your lips on it. It's like what is it? The ice. Dry ice. It's kind of like dry ice where it'll like freeze them off your face.
Okay.
Another big problem with nitrous, like we said, it removes the carbon dioxide from your blood without replacing it with oxygen, and that will produce no outward signs of suffocation even when the brain is experiencing hypoxia, which is a lack of oxygen. So if you take a bunch of whippets in a row without breathing, your body won't tell you that you're lacking oxygen and like suffocating, but you are. So your brain like isn't signaling that you need oxygen, but you really do. So that obviously like depriving your brain of oxygen can cause damage to the brain. You're cutting it off from oxygen. So it's like if you were drowning, you know? So this is even more dangerous when people use the full medical tanks because the gas is not mixed with the oxygen and it's not used like with a mask like they do at the dentist. So you can pass out from it and then you're not going to have a way to get in proper oxygen because you're passed out. So, I mean,
oh my God.
that alone is scary. Yeah.
Yeah.
So for that, make sure to take slow, deep breaths in through the nose in between uses and make sure that your body is getting enough oxygen because you won't be able to tell if you aren't. So,
oh my God.
Yeah. So if you are going to do them, yes. But if you are going to do them, please take like big pauses in between and give yourself, don't be like huffing air in between. You want to take like slow, deep breaths in through the nose, out through the mouth to like regulate your oxygen and nitrogen levels. And then you can take vitamin B12 supplements. I don't know how much it helps because like I said, it's a problem of your body not able to absorb B12. And so I don't know how much supplements will help, but I saw some people say that it's something you can try. And I think it's better than nothing. Because that B12 deficiency, that'll fuck you up.
Right.
It has so many effects of just being low on B12. And some people already have B12 deficiencies just in life in general. Yeah. So like imagine if you already had a deficiency and then you get into whippets.
Oh my God.
You're screwed. And this person also said, don't use nitrous oxide many days in a row. From their understanding, it's better to use larger amounts at one time and then be fully abstinent rather than using smaller amounts every day. So like it would be obviously ideally you wouldn't do this at all. I know I don't need to keep saying that, but like just want to put it out there. But like you'd be better off doing it like, for example, at a party and you get really high on it and then you're done, as opposed to like people who get into the routine of using it daily. Yeah. Because you're just constantly, every single day, you're depriving your brain and body of oxygen. Like I said, it's like a 3-day recovery before your body can absorb that B12 again. So if you're doing it every day, you're not giving your body any time to like do that B12 absorption.
Jesus.
Yeah. And then especially do not consume them at the same time as the following drugs. They have like really bad interactions.
Yeah.
Alcohol.
Well, it's a respiratory depressant.
Yeah. Yeah. So it makes sense. Like with alcohol,
you're not taking those big deep breaths.
Yes. And then you're like not aware, like you're even less aware than normal because you're drunk and your brain isn't telling you you need oxygen. So it just seems like a really dangerous combo. You could pass out.
Yeah.
GHB.
What's that? Growth hormone.
Yes.
Okay.
GBL. I don't know what that is. I was hoping you would know.
Nope.
Cue the music. All right. GBL is gamma Trolotone.
Let me see.
I should have let you say that one.
Gamma butyrolactone.
Close enough.
I don't know what that is.
It is a chemical in cleaning solutions and nail polish.
Oh.
But I guess people... Oh, GHB, by the way, is roofies, not growth hormone.
Oh.
That's roofies. Okay. In the body, GBL is converted to GHB, which is a date rape drug. So...
What the shit?
Yeah. So they're both essentially...
respiratory depressants.
Roofies, yeah. So don't do roofies and whippets together.
Okay.
And then opioids and...
Also a respiratory depressant.
And tramadol.
Same.
Yeah.
Samesies.
So that makes sense. That
yeah.
When you're huffing stuff, you don't want to pair it with another respiratory suppressant.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That makes sense to me.
Right?
This was enlightening.
Yeah.
And terrifying.
And that's it.
Jesus.
Did you learn some stuff?
I learned stuff and I'm afraid of stuff.
Right?
And I you know when you don't know what you don't know?
Mm-hmm.
Well, now I know what I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about... I know more things about whippets than I ever thought I did.
Right?
Need to know.
I'm glad I could educate you on this.
I agree. I think you're right, though. I think we'll probably see more of this and more of the long-term effects of this. And that's scary.
Yeah. Like, it is enough of a problem where you could, if you're struggling with addiction, you could go to a treatment facility. And I think most places at this point have awareness of this drug. So,
okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I think if you're trying to recover, there are options for that. It's an up and coming thing.
Yeah.
So it's not as widely known, but there definitely are lots of rehab centers that handle inhalants.
Yeah.
Because inhalants of all kinds are bad and kind of a similar concept where it's like
this seems
very short acting. Bad. Yeah. This is especially bad. Yeah. So I think it's just good for everyone to be aware of. I don't know, parents, maybe talk to your kids about whippets because it's not like fun
signs.
Little ha-ha thing.
Look for balloons.
Yeah. Keep an eye out for balloons, whipped cream canisters. How you know that someone's been doing whippets off a whipped cream canister is when like all the cream is still in there, but the air is gone.
Ah.
Yeah. So like sometimes you hold it at the wrong angle and you accidentally let the air out.
Yeah.
But.
Or you don't shake it first.
Yeah. So that's essentially what the can will feel like. That you can tell that there's still cream in there, but there's not any air to make it come out.
I'd be so pissed.
I know, right? It's such a waste.
I need that whipped cream for my hot chocolate.
And sometimes I do it accidentally where I hold it at a wrong angle and I can tell there's still cream in there, but there's not enough nitrogen left. I know. And that's just me trying to have a treat. Can't imagine finding out that your kid is like huffing on it.
I don't know.
Because what? Then you can't keep whipped cream in the house? Yeah, I don't want to live in that world. You got to eat Cool-a-Whip out of a tub.
You could get like homemade whipped cream and like dollop it.
Yeah.
That would be a good solution.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Dollop your whipped cream. If you're worried about your kids doing whippets, dollop.
Yep.
A dollop of
Don't
whipped
get
cream.
The canisters.
Yeah. It's a slippery slope.
Mm-hmm.
But really, like, I don't know what the culture is around this of like high schoolers and middle schoolers, but like I do remember even back when we were in middle school, people just like joking about it. And I do remember some kids like doing it. Not in front of me, but I remember hearing about people talking about doing it.
I was out to lunch.
Yeah, you were just unaware of your surroundings at all times.
Yeah.
It's kind of blissful, you know?
I had a great childhood, I think, because I was just unaware.
Yeah, you don't even know.
Or I blocked it out of my memory. You know?
Either way, yeah. But yeah, and then, like always, the best way to avoid drugs and stay off drugs is building in replacements for what you're trying to achieve with this drug of community, hobbies, interests, things to look forward to, things in the future. Like there are those community aspects as well whenever we're talking about drugs and addiction, because people don't just do this stuff in a vacuum. It's a response to terrible, isolating societal factors that keep us all sad and separated and depressed.
Yeah.
So there's that aspect to it. So yeah. Let me know if you have any facts or info about whippets or if you've tried whippets before. And also let me know about the silly non-drug drugs that people were doing in your middle schools. Yes, because I really want to know.
What drugs have you tried?
Yes, because that's like such a fun topic of like smoking tea.
Unreal.
I love it. Yeah. All right. Yeah, you can find us on all the podcast platforms. You can find us on the social media platforms. You can email us at weirdsofafeather@gmail.com and check out our website. We got some merch there. You can donate to the podcast at ko-fi.com/weirdsofafeather.
You can join our Patreon.
Yeah. Get some bonus content there. We're going to be putting out some new stuff. And I think that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Should we get into the bod?
Yeah. Let's hear this bod.
I haven't done a bod in a while.
You have not done a bod in a while.
I feel like we're so focused. Oh, first of all, we got to do nice bod.
I want your bod.
I want your bod. I feel like we're so focused on like what are crazy birds and silly birds to do that sometimes we neglect the most basic common birds of all. But I think those birds, not basic in a bad way.
I don't think the
common.
bird you picked is common.
Well, I think
it's commonly known.
I think it's commonly known. That's what I mean. It's in the zeitgeist, you know? It's not a crazy bird that no one's heard of, you know? It's just kind of a run-of-the-mill bird you hear about a lot. I feel like you learn about this bird a lot as a kid. I'm doing the ostrich.
Hey! We love her.
I know. I feel like she gets overlooked. And so this is an ode to the ostrich.
Okay.
So ostriches are large flightless birds, as we know. There are 2 living species that are recognized.
Oh.
The common ostrich, native to large areas of sub-Saharan Africa, and the Somali ostrich, native to the Horn of Africa.
Oh.
I did not know there were 2 types.
I did not know either.
No, but there's 2 types.
Here we are.
So ostriches are the heaviest and largest living avian dinosaur.
I love it.
With adult common ostriches weighing anywhere between 63 and 145 kilograms, which is 140 to 319 pounds of these birds.
300-pound bird. Holy
Can you imagine?
Shit.
No wonder it can't fly.
God damn.
319 pounds. That is so big.
That's such a big bird.
Yep. And they lay the largest eggs of any living land animal.
God, could you imagine?
No. And they also have the ability to run at 97 kilometers per hour or 60 miles per hour.
Damn.
And they are the fastest bipedal animals on land, second only to the cheetah.
Cheetah's not bipedal. Bipedal. It's quadrupedal.
Oh, why did it say that?
It's probably the fastest bipedal animal and
second
only
in speed to the cheetah.
Probably.
You're right. The wording is bad. But
cheetahs have 4 legs.
They're the fastest bipedal animals. You're right.
I know my animals.
You know your animal legs. You're right. So out of all the bipedals, the ostrich is the fastest. Out of all land animals, the cheetah is the fastest, and then the ostrich, regardless of leg count.
I'm trying to think what are other, besides birds and humans, what are other creatures that are bipedal? Are kangaroos bipedal?
Yes, they have little arms. Are you bipedal even if you have more limbs, but you're not walking on them?
I guess.
Are the pedals like pedals?
Do they have arms or do they have 4 legs?
They have arms because they can punch you in the face. Haven't you ever seen a kangaroo punch someone?
Yeah, I've seen kangaroo punch someone, but they also walk on those arms.
Yeah.
So are they arms or are they legs?
They're arms, but they can.
Poll question. Do kangaroos have 4 legs or 2 arms and 2 legs?
They have 2 arms and 2 legs.
I think this is debatable.
It's not a poll question. No.
I think it's debatable.
I think there's an answer, and it's...
So kangaroos...
arms and legs.
Are bipedal.
I think so. I don't know if technically they'd be categorized as that. But if they've got 2 pedals...
They have 2 pedals.
Yeah. I gotta look this up real quick. I know we're out of time. Kangaroos are the only bipedal marsupial that moves on 2 legs instead of on all 4.
Well, what about wallabies?
You know, a group of kangaroos is called a mob. Which sounds about right.
I love that.
Yeah.
Mob of kangaroos.
Yeah. It says within the animal kingdom, there's a surprisingly low number of species that walk or maneuver exclusively on 2 legs besides birds and dinosaurs. And then it goes into the whole, like, what is bipedalism? So we'll have to cover this another time. Bears.
Bears have 4 legs. Bears have 4 legs.
Or are they arms?
They're legs that are super handy.
Okay, yeah, this says a quick synopsis of some species that move well on 2 legs but are not bipedal. You're right.
What are the other ones?
Great apes, gibbons, and the frilled dragon. Oh, it's those lizards that run on their legs.
Yeah.
So they can't, like bears can walk on 2 legs, but they're not bipedal because
gorillas,
it's not the default.
Bipedal?
I don't know.
Or those are definitely arms to me.
Yeah. We'll have to do a whole episode on this because I feel like, great apes. It's no surprise that our closest relatives, gorillas, chimpanzees, and bonobos, and orangutans, can walk on 2 legs, although knuckle walking is their preferred form of movement. Whereas kangaroos, like they can use their arms to move, but they mostly move on their feet.
Okay.
I'm going to have to do more research, but I was right, and they are bipedal.
Bipedalism.
So that's all that matters. All right, let's get into this. Ostrich sound.
Yeah. Do they even make sounds?
They do.
I was not expecting that. It's a big bird with a delicate. Before.
I know, so dainty.
So delicate.
You go first. It's kind of like the loon, but higher.
I like a high loon.
I think you're going a little too like horse.
Yeah.
I think you want to go a rounder mouth shape. Yeah.
Like a stressed Nana.
Yeah, just like a stressed Nana. Where's my puzzle?
I like that one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Nice.
That was a good one.
Grace.
Thank you.
Oh my God, it's like a mob of ostriches. Flock,
a real mob. Yeah.
Flock of ostriches.
Yeah. All right. Well, we got to take our whippets and get out of here.
Yeah.
So, see ya.
Bye.
Don't do it.